So Ruza, over to you, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, Ruza.
Thank you, Ron. Well, hello, Berlin. This is Belgrade calling. For those who doesn't know where we are, well, Novak Djokovic, Serbia, end of discussion. Okay, on to my presentation. My name is Ruža, and I'm representing Sportifico, a startup that's empowering women's football. Current market situation shows us that less than 2% of professional female football players actually reach their market potential and earn a significant amount of money besides their salaries and playing bonuses. That's why we created the solution and platform that will serve 98% of them. For Rapinoe and Morgan, who we saw on the previous slides, it's easy at the moment because they reached their market potential. But what about the rest of them? Here is an example of Daniela Kuhut, female football player from Serbia, who is now Adidas ambassador thanks to our platform. You might be asking how we came up with this. Well, 3 years ago, we created a platform for both men and women. But since 30% were ladies, of 13K users, actually all registered female football players from Serbia, we realized the responsiveness of the market. After partnering up with Adidas a year later for the most successful football campaign of the Southeast Europe, and ladies actually being the majority of the campaign, we proved our concept once again. After we decided to pivot to women's football only, we won the Israeli Colosseum SportsTech program, and that led us to continue the success this year, despite the global situation, because we signed with five football clubs, female football clubs, that are actually playing UEFA Women's Champions League. So that's our progress in the moment of the situation, which I consider really important to highlight. Also, we have a sports background that provides us much needed expertise. But what we like to say is that we have a goalie as our captain, but trust me, ladies are attacking for this team and we are scoring for this team. We're planning to start our global rollout from Europe because UEFA set as one of the main goals to double the market in the next couple of years. On the other hand, projections of FIFA shows that actually this is the fastest growing market in women's sports at the moment. As you know, football may be the red ocean or maybe the overloaded, but actually we found that small blue bay. And those considered as our competitors, we actually see our potential partners such as Scout or Instat. And our biggest advantage with direct competition is the fact that Sportifico is built by professionals coming from the field that we are building the product for. For users and players, the platform will always be free to use, but we are definitely speaking about profitable business. We proved with Adidas that brands are interested in, and in terms of commercialization, well, if I wanted to buy Kai Havertz jersey, I could do that in a second. But if I wanted to buy Milena Nikolic jersey, who plays for the female team of Leverkusen, well, guys, I cannot do that. And that's the issue with all teams, women's teams in Europe, even speaking of Barcelona or Arsenal. But the biggest breakthrough for us since last year is the fact that in order to increase the earnings of the female football players, we created a system that will combine interest of the advertisers and players' market potential, which is basically the most important. To achieve all of this, we need 500K, and we need strategic partners, investors who actually believe in us and believe in women's football, which is most important. Before I conclude this, I have no doubts actually that we will succeed since we've been called from the best from the industry. And the question is only, will you join us now, will you join us later? But as a former football referee, I will do something else to conclude this presentation. I will show the yellow card to everybody who thinks that women's football is not the next big thing. And the red card to those who think that we are not the one to pull it through. So that's all for me.
Fantastic, Ruza. I think yellow and red cards are in good place, or definitely the order of the day, and well within time as well. Fantastic. Natalie, maybe I'll jump to you. Do you have a question for Ruza?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about your pivot. As I said in the beginning, I saw you guys, I think, in 2019, before your pivot, and I'm excited that you listen to the market and you clearly have a momentum going there. But I didn't fully get what your platform does, to be honest. And it is obviously extremely hard to build a network. And so my question is, what does it do exactly, and how are you going to get users? How are you going to build your community?
So you know what is transfer market for men's football?
Yeah.
At the moment. Such a platform for women's football doesn't exist. Exists physically, but doesn't exist speaking of quality. So that's where we are jumping in. But we are not jumping in as a platform that will earn money from managers and agencies and just show the market value. We're jumping there to help the ladies actually earn significant amount of money, found the brands who are going to sponsor them, etc., etc. Here, I put back the slide where I was explaining the way how the actually players can earn the money. And speaking of the audience, well, and actually the people who's going to follow the platform, we don't have a problem with that. Why? Because as I said, we created the platform 3 years ago. And that campaign I mentioned with Adidas was actually a campaign that brought people like fans from outside to support athletes who are actually amateurs, not professional football players, besides ladies who are professional football players. And do you know the number of people who actually gave the online that we have applause? It's 4 million. So 4 million for female football players from Serbia in this region is a huge number. Imagine what's going to happen if we put that in a European market. And also, when we speak about the fans of the women's football, well, 30% of football fans in UK are actually fans of women's football. And when we speak about UK as a market, football market, you know that number is huge. And if you see that we took the part of 30%, it's really a really huge amount. And actually, what also has been proved, thanks to Nike, is that during the World Cup, the Women's World Cup in France, they had like they broke all the records in selling the jerseys of women's US soccer national team, which never happened before. So basically, we don't miss audience, we don't miss players. And as I said before, we signed at the moment in last few months, we signed 5 clubs that play women's UEFA Champions League, and that's only the beginning. You know, we also made a deal with agencies, with managers, but they're like they're on our waiting list until we actually build the platform for the European market, and that's why we need the funding.
So the 500K are fully going into the development of the platform, or just
it's like conquering European market entirely in terms of development, business, and marketing. So like I gave it all. I gave it all. And why it's ambitious? Because we still have some experience while working in these 3 years. We made some results in last 3 years. That's why we are this ambitious. For example, I'm a person from the industry. I don't need help to reach some of the people. And even though we said we're not going to mention the C word, well, for startups, this situation is actually kind of winning, because now everyone wants to speak with us because we cannot travel. Like all CEOs and investors and managers and football players, they're at home. They're training at home. They want to connect with us. A few days ago, U.S. women national team, they lost on court because they were asking for the equal payment, because their results and the money they brought to the federation actually deserved that, but they lost it. So at the moment, our goal is to come to Morgan. And trust me, maybe I cannot go to Morgan or Pinoy next like couple of days, but I will in next couple of months, because they need this kind of support, and actually they need ladies to help ladies at the moment.
Brilliant. Love it, Rosa. Love the enthusiasm, the ambitious vision is where you want to be. No, I mean, not be a dampener, but that's really powerful, how the passion with which you speak about your product, and whatever support you get along the way, anything that we can do is always helpful. Happy to provide.
We count on you.
Philip,
we count on you.
Of course. Philip, anything from your side? Any last question for Ruza before we wind this up?
I mean, just in the interest of time, maybe not a big question, but first of all, Rusa, I think you're on it, right? So women's soccer it's a big thing for the industry as well as for us. We see significant growth rates in women's soccer, in general, women's sports overall, but especially soccer. So I think you're on the right track, definitely. Back to Natalie's point, and also maybe general comments. So I also didn't really get the value that you deliver to the let's say user, to the athlete herself. That was the same. I also had a few additional questions for Excelsior. So maybe just a general comment in these 5 minutes, not especially for you, Rusa, but for all the presenters. Maybe in these 5 minutes, it's super important to just from a user perspective sketch the journey. What are you offering? What is happening next? And what's the great value I
can use the case study we already had. Like, for example, Daniela Kuhut, she downloaded our app. After that, we brought the brand to the platform, and she was posting and actually building her online CV. And actually, Sportifico was the only place where she could do that because she's a female. I have to address that again. So after posting her results, we brought the brand. So we built the campaign with the brand. She entered the campaign and ended up being ambassador of that brand. So we actually, the value that we are adding is helping them reach their market potential and become influencers of the industry, which ladies are not at the moment.
Which makes it clearer, Rusa. Thanks a lot. And now from the investor's mind or strategic partner mind, the next question that would came up over here would be, is that scalable? Is that more kind of an agency model, which is still great and good to follow and to build? But is it really?
This is only one part of the business model, of the revenue model, and of the value that user has. As I already explained, when we combine advertisers from the sports industry with the fans on the profiles of the ladies, like you have like on Transfermarkt for men, basically that's the way how they're going to earn the money, how we are going to earn the money, and that is the most scalable actually moment of our platform. And what I always like to say, women's football is just the beginning for us. Our end goal is women's sport, because if there is such a thing as missing funding, that's actually women's sport, because ladies cannot earn from sponsors or clubs the amount of money men can do. So that's where we step in and help them actually stay in sports. Because one of the things that clubs were telling us, we already signed 5 clubs from the Women's Champions League. For example, Ferencváros from Hungary, they told us one thing. After they finish college, they leave football because they don't have, they see that there are some industries where they can earn more money than they can in football. So that's where we step in. We want to keep them and maybe even increase the quality of the league in a long term.
Understood, Rusa. And that being said, I think you've got some good traction. You've got a couple of clubs that you've been working for and with a while. Natalie mentioned earlier that you made this pivot. Fantastic, guys.